Well, hello.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Be Here.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here.
Good.
I'm happier to be here.
I hope you guys are buckled in and you don't have your phones in your hands while you're driving. And
Turn off your sirens.
We're putting up the police tape. Is that what it's called?
yes, for the Thin Boo Line.
10-4.
Part 2. Scary stuff ahead.
Wow, wow.
This is awesome. Sorry. I'm on my third cup of coffee, so I'm a little bit
A
wild.
little jacked.
Yeah, we had a fun episode when we first approached this topic, I thought.
Yeah, season 4.
It's a unique perspective looking at the strange and the unexplained through the eyes of a trained observer, like that of a first responder, specifically, and thinking this episode is mostly police officers. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, this will be fun. I just think it's a neat concept when you have, because, I was reading some stuff that we're going to get to about just some interesting stats about FOIA requests, about how many cops have had experiences.
Oh, yeah, this is pretty
But it's also
crazy.
interesting when you think about, like, when you're on the other side of that curtain in the law enforcement side, dispatch or something. I don't know who keeps the records.
Police curtains?
But it'd be cool to be able to see, like, where hotspots are, where things are going on. Like, here's where we'll get into this,
Yeah,
I guess.
I don't
but-
think that they keep a record of like paranormal hotspots, 911
Yeah, I mean, it's
ghost
not like
calls.
CSI where like they're blowing up like little
I don't think
supernatural sectors
they're
of the
not-
city.
They're not corroborating and allocating that specific data.
Right. Well, and that's kind of the problem, I think, is that no one is doing that. And when
Right.
people are requesting a FOIA request for certain things.
Give an example, like a UFO sighting.
Yeah, like whether it's UFOs, whether it's, hauntings, werewolves, which some people have submitted FOIA requests for, which would be
That's true.
interesting. There was actually one I won't get into deeply, but it was like, I think there were 52 recorded accounts of the word werewolf or zombie. Zombie's dumb, but somebody requested this in a FOIA request, but 52 reports within the city. The city unit, I guess.
Yeah.
Within like a 2-year period of people reporting or police reporting on these,
On a Wolfman.
on the terms. And of course, like these are broad terms, like, where I werewolf in the report.
Yeah. Well, that's how we got Beast of Bray Road, right? Linda
Mhm.
Godfrey.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the werewolf, the sheriff of the town, he pulled like a drawer out and he had a whole file. He like laid it. It was the werewolf file. He's like, yeah, we have reports here of this kind of stuff. You just don't hear about it.
Yeah.
No one talks about it.
Elkhorn, Wisconsin.
Yes.
Not Indiana, which we said one time on a previous episode.
Oh
and
boy, they let
had
you know.
about 30 comments that we misspoke the state.
It was Wisconsin. People let you know.
Forever.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I thought this was interesting. This is what I call spooky stats and fun facts. Okay. Thought you'd appreciate that.
For children.
I got this from the Library of Congress. You may have heard of that. This is specifically about the police and the paranormal in England and reports with FOIA requests. A FOIA request, this is interesting. A FOIA request in Northern Ireland seeking, quote, details of extraterrestrial and supernatural sightings in the area for the past 5 years was deemed to exceed the, quote, appropriate cost limit, which at the time was £450, which is approximately, or was $625, equating to 18 hours of work. So basically saying like they got a request to, basically, remember when we talked about Politis trying to get the national parks to compile information?
Missing persons.
And it was going to cost, I forget how many thousands of dollars to do that. This is just $625.
Yeah.
American dollars for them to take 18 hours of work time to collect this for the FOIA request. And like that exceeds...
Which is less than the time spent for one of us on an episode.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's funny because so you're saying that if there's UFO sighting, say an alien came out of the craft and abducted somebody, or maybe not that intense, but you want information on that, they'll get that request. You think that if you submit a FOIA request, it's the right of the citizen to get a response or provided the information. Apparently, if it costs $600 for them
It's too much
of their work time, then, which I get administrative stuff, but you just won't get. So there could be so much information that even FOIA requests they won't provide. It makes you wonder, why do they provide any?
Yeah. That's a pretty low bar.
Yeah.
$600. I mean, I wonder if there are...
Maybe because it's for the woo-woo.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if it depends on what you're asking
Yeah,
for.
probably.
For example, the next one I have mentioned here was a FOIA request that asked for information about the number of reports received for the years 2016 and 2017 that contained the words zombie, werewolf, ghost, and alien. The response provided statistics, so they actually gave them the statistics on this one. The requester, which stated there were 55 reports that included the terms for the relevant time period. Of course, with the caveat that, like, it's a broad terms, and there's no details of what happened in the things. And there could be misreporting too.
Or like I was burgled by a man in a werewolf mask.
Right. Yeah, so you don't really know. It's like a loose Google search, I guess. Which, yeah. I mean, I get it. I get like they have important things to do, especially if you've got cold cases.
Not a lot of molders out there in the
right. But that's what I'm saying. There needs to be a department that does this, like on the street, like beat cops that are like
that would be awesome.
The 2 supernatural beat cops that just go to hauntings and first respond. Of course, they got to bring in like professionals, priests, and mediums,
and a vial of holy water.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Let's make it happen. What kind of stories do we have?
Yes.
Regarding this. Any
to
tales?
the stories!
Now that the stats have been done.
I went through those quick because I know not everybody loves the stats. John.
I like stats.
But I thought it was interesting.
I like stats.
I loved it.
Good. I could feel it from you. Okay. Yes. So 3 sources I used to gather stories. You'll be familiar with one if you heard our first. By the way, check that episode out. It is fantastic.
The first what?
The first Paranormal Police Stories episode we did last season. So, 3 places. One is the book we covered last time, Cops' True Stories of the Paranormal, Ghosts, UFOs, and Other Shivers by Loren W. Christensen, best-selling author. And by the way, you guys might remember he was like a legit law enforcement agent. Started in 1967 as an MP in Saigon, became an officer in Oregon, did that for 25 years, specializing in tactics, intelligence, gang enforcement, and combat training. So he knows his stuff.
Interesting.
And he's written, I think, like 50 books on law enforcement related things. And this is obviously the one that relates to our show, which is why we're using it. The other source, police1.com, we also used that last time.
Yeah, we used that last time. That had some really interesting stories for people's true accounts that they reported in.
Right. Yeah. And the cool thing I like about this blog is it's, in their own words, it's revolutionizing the way law enforcement community finds relevant news, identifies important training information, interacts online, and researches product purchases and manufacturers. So it's for police. It's by police for police. It's not just an open Reddit. Hey, you cop, you have a story.
Right.
So good place for that. And then, of course,
you're burying the lead here, Bob.
I know.
Who's going to be on our show today? Art Bell.
Art Bell, coast to coast with Ghost to Ghost AM.
From the high desert in the great American Southwest, I bid you all good evening.
Yeah, we're going to do a couple of his stories. From his famous call-in lines, every Halloween he'd do Ghost to Ghost AM, and then Spooky Matter, eventually when he went and did Midnight in the Desert after he left Coast to Coast.
But he received, in his words, he received hundreds, I think, messages from law enforcement with strange accounts.
Yes.
And only some of them made it to air where it would actually use their name because they were afraid of the blowback they would get in their department if they came forward with these stories. But we have some of them for you today, and they're some of the best, I think.
Yes.
So it's going to be really fascinating. And, I'd say fun. It is fun, but there are definitely there's some pretty heavy stories.
Yeah, I should say disclaimer. I mean, there will be potential commentary related to suicide, adult situations for sure.
That lead one to be a ghost occasionally.
Potentially. But if you're a sensitive soul to discussions of anything dark, it's not going to be a super dark episode. I don't have a bunch of dark stories. We've done those episodes before and they're pretty heavy. It's not going to be like that. But there are some,
creepy stories.
Some people might be upset by certain topics when there is a death involved. So just keep that in mind. But we're going to make it as light as possible because we're the belief hole.
We're going to make it real.
Let's get into some stories.
All right, here we go. Story number 1. This first story is one of my favorites, just unique. And the first time I read it, I thought it was kind of a sweet story. And then the second time I read it, I was like, that's kind of a bizarre story.
Disturbing.
Yeah, just a little odd. You'll see. This is called The Couple. And this comes to us from that book by Loren Christensen. And the officer reporting this account is Officer Melissa Davis. It was cool enough that fall night for a jacket and wet enough for rain gear. The rain was slapping my patrol car so hard, my wipers were heavy with rain and struggling to keep up. I was working as a patrol deputy, assigned to a small county with a little over 370,000 people. It's small, but it has a reputation for over 50 haunted locations, some of which are just legends and rumor, but others are well documented. Squinting through the rain-hammered windshield, I turned off Lone Rock Road and headed eastbound on Powell Road toward Tall Pines Park. The park's 64 acres of dense woods was quite lovely when it wasn't pouring, and I often enjoyed sitting in its parking lot to do my paperwork. A nursing home across from the park sat by itself. The closest house was about 3 blocks down on the opposite side of the road. One of my duties on the night shift was to close the park at dusk and to check to ensure it was clear of people, which wouldn't be an issue on such a terrible night, or so I thought. I had no more pulled onto Lone Rock when my hard-working wipers revealed 2 people walking across the road, both wearing jackets with hoods up over their heads. It was unusual to see anyone out at this hour, especially in a storm without an umbrella. and walking toward Tall Pines Park, of all places. So I pulled up next to them and lowered my passenger window. "Everything okay?" I shouted over the pounding rain. A man, late 40s, leaned in my window.
"I was taking my mother for a walk,
He said.
and we're headed home now."
There was something about his voice, the tone. It was so dull, almost robotic. And they were out for a walk in a downpour? Still leaning in the window, he added in the strange monotone.
"We live in the first house on the left."
He straightened, and a moment later, an elderly woman's face appeared in my window. "Thank you," she said in the same dry, lifeless voice. Then she too moved away from the opening. I rolled up the window and began to drive off. Wait, we live in the first house on the left. I stopped in the middle of the road. There was no house on the left. Only Tall Pines Park is on that side. I looked up at my rearview mirror. The couple wasn't there. I moved the mirror left and right, but I still couldn't find them. I grabbed my flashlight, got out, and shined it all about the area. They were gone. But how? I quickly got back into my car and thoroughly checked the streets, sidewalks, and trees. Nothing. But where could they have gone in such a short period? I had driven no more than 10 seconds after I left the couple when I stopped and began searching for them. There was simply nowhere for them to have gone in that time frame. Not into the park, not down the street, nowhere. Later, I asked other deputies if they had ever seen the couple or if they knew anyone that lived on that sparsely populated road with that description. None of them had. For 7 more years, I worked that area in our small community and never saw them again. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that clip. And if you want to hear the rest of this episode and get access to dozens and dozens of fully produced, full-length, strange and bizarre, members-only bonus episodes, click the link in the description and sign up for the expansion experience. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.